Okay, so presumably the reason we've got into this situation, this mindset, you might call it, when I say we, I mean the culture, certainly on the left, is this remarkable transformation that's taken place in the potential and possibilities that women have enjoyed over the last 40 years, when they've turned out to be, it seems, much more plastic and capable and having a great deal more talents and potentialities than we used to think in the 1950s. And this extraordinary liberation that's happened, and it has happened unquestionably, has seems to have led us to the point of view that there is a kind of infinite malleability going on. But you can see how the argument would have got there, wouldn't you?
Well, I would say it's partly that. It's certainly partly post-birth control confusion, right? Because with the invention of the birth control pill, you basically have a new female born. Because there's never been a female in the history of life that had voluntary control over her reproductive capability. And now that's possible. So then the question arises, well, what is this new creature like? And one answer is, she's like any way she wants to be. And then if you ally that as well with the Marxist doctrine of, which is a social constructionist doctrine, that the state constructs the individual and should do so, then you get a double whammy. And so some of it's understandable because we are still trying to figure out the parameters of female behavior once femininity is unlocked from involuntary reproduction.
And also, of course, the birth control came about at pretty much the same time as there was a great uptick in economic fortune. So there was presumably a great deal of possibility out there.
Right. Well, and there is a great deal of possibility because it's quite clear that women are as intelligent as men, for example, although the variability might differ, as we discussed. And they're as conscientious as men, and they're as creative as men. So, although they may not be as creative as all men, so that remains to be seen, but we'll see how that plays out. So it's not surprising that there's a lot of upheaval in the relationships between men and women, because when humanity looks back on the 20th century, they're going to identify three dramatic revolutions. One is going to be, let's say, the last half of the 20th century. One is going to be the transistor. The other is going to be the hydrogen bomb. And the third is going to be the birth control pill. And they're all of revolutionary significance. And it's even more complex than that, because it turns out that women on the birth control pill like feminine men better than masculine men. So their preference actually shifts.
When they're on, because of some hormonal change?
Yes, so if you track women... across their menstrual cycle when they're not on the pill. So what you do is you show them photographs of men, the same man, but all you do is vary his jaw width, which you can do on a continuum with a computer. Now, jaw width is associated with testosterone. So larger jawed guys have higher levels of testosterone. And women prefer the larger jawed guy when they're ovulating, and the smaller jawed guy when they're distant from reproductive possibility. And so, you see, women might want a monster to mate with and a pell to raise children with. And I think in the Beauty and the Beast story, which I think is in some ways, the central female myth, there's an attempt to bridge the gap, because what the woman does is find a monster and tame him. But you want your man to be tame enough so he doesn't eat your children, but you want him to be rough enough so that your son has a fighting chance in the mating hierarchy, and so that you have someone tough and aggressive and potentially able to protect you around. And there's a lot of sexual attractiveness on that part, on that element.